Good morning, and a very happy new year to every single one of you out there. It feels good to be back, and I'm really happy to be back doing this again. And I must tell you, I've missed this, and I've missed you all this while. My wonderful people and the wonderful audience that I've built over the last few weeks in the last year. And it's a brand new year. It's a refreshing one. It's a fresh start. It's a brand new opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to wipe the slates clean and start all over again. It's an opportunity for us to forget about the mistakes of the past, correct them, and then approach this new period with new vigor, new strength, new vision, and brand new energy. So I'm really happy to be back. I'm really excited to be back talking to you again and talking about the things that excite us the most and the things that bring us together and unite us together. I've enjoyed a very good 3 weeks holiday. I traveled to Nigeria for Christmas with the family. It was such a wonderful, refreshing time, being out there, being home, spending time with family, spending time with parents, spending time with the in-laws, spending time with nephews and cousins, and wow, in fact it was a much needed break. So, and it's given me a lot of inspiration in this new year, being home. And I haven't been home for quite a while, so it was a sweet reunion. It was a brand new opportunity for me to get involved with people and see people that I have not seen for a very long time. So I really had a swell time in Nigeria, and the family loved it. My children loved it, and we really enjoyed our time in Nigeria during this Christmas, and it gave me an opportunity to basically refresh myself again, recharge the batteries, and come back very much reinvigorated. So now that I'm back, we've got to get straight back into business again. After the holiday, where you spend a long time on holiday, it takes you a little bit of time to get back into the scheme of things again, tuning yourself back into your routine and your activities. And this morning I had my first workout after the holidays. It was it was a struggle with all the food that we've consumed in the holiday period and over Christmas and New Year. Lifting the legs was a struggle, but I managed to pull through because I needed to get back into the scheme and routine of things, and I pulled through it, and it felt good again. And so thank goodness I haven't seen anyone who said to me, hey, you've put on so much weight over Christmas, you need to do something to yourself. Instead, people who have seen me have said, look, you're looking great, you're looking fabulous, you're looking trim. So it means I've been a little bit of disciplined over Christmas. I haven't overindulged a lot. So I hope you haven't overindulged as well, and I hope you're looking after yourself. And this year is another opportunity for us to look back at things that we need to fix, and fix them as quickly as possible. So this is our first episode in the new year, and remember, this is the start of a new decade, and this year marks the end of one decade and a start of another decade. So in the new year, a lot of things are being talked about. People talk about New Year resolutions, new goals, new objectives, and everything appears new in the new year. So there is always this new energy. If you go into several gyms now, gym subscriptions are hitting the roof, and everybody just wants, to get on board and get this fitness going, shed some weight. In business, people are like, this year it's going to be great. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's what the new year brings. It brings this kind of new vision, new energy, brand new focus, and everyone wants to make the most of the year. I haven't seen anyone you've talked to in the new year who's telling you that they're not expecting this year to be better than last year. So it's very, very good to be optimistic. It's very, very good to be positive. It pays also to be forward-looking in the new year. But what I want to talk about today in this first episode of this new year is basically what makes all that dream and aspirations and optimism and forward-looking attitude, what makes them come to fruition. That is what I want us to talk about in this new year. In line with our thoughts in this new year, I've decided to talk about, a topic I've tagged "Focus on Your Year," and that year is in brackets and is in capital letter. Focus on your year. So the year is spelled as Y-E-A-R. Yeah, focus on your year. So what I've done is that I've used the spelling of the year and used the year as an acronym to represent 4 things that you need to focus on this year if you want to make the most of the year. Because it's very easy to sit down and say, this year is going to be great, this good. But then if you don't know what you're really going to focus on, the year might just drift away just like that, and before you know it, the year has ended and you have not achieved anything. So I've used the year as an acronym, Y-E-A-R, to come up with 4 things that you need to focus on this year. And that's why I've tagged this particular episode, Focus on Your Year, or Focusing on Your Year. So let's jump straight into this and see what this acronym stands for and what these 4 things are that we need to focus on this year. The first one is the letter Y. What does the letter Y in the year stand for? The letter Y stands for yield. Y-I-E-L-D, yield. So one of the things you've got to, and by the way, what I'm going to list now, I'm going to use the word year to explain what I want to explain, but it is not in any particular order. At the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you what I think is the right order to place those things. But because I want to use the word year, I'm going to be mentioning these things you need to focus on in no particular order. Then at the end of the session, I'm going to tell you in what order I think these things should actually appear based on what I have explained. So the letter Y in year stands for the word yield. Focus on your yield. Yield is one thing you need to focus on this year. So when we talk about yield, yield could represent things like profit. It could be an end product. It could be the end result of a particular activity. It could be the benefits of anything you get involved in. It could be the outcome of anything you're involved in. So whatever it is you have chosen to do this year, I need you to focus on the yield of that particular activity. You see, every activity, every venture, every business, every decision you make is towards an end product. Everything you get yourself involved in has an end product. If you keep your eyes on the end product of every decision or every action, every venture you get involved in this year, every activity, it keeps you focused on that particular activity. Because the first question you've got to ask yourself before you get involved in anything this year is, what is in it for me? What's in this for me? If you can figure out what's in that thing for you, it helps you analyze the potentials involved in that particular thing, and it helps you decide whether it is worth it or not. So do not jump into any activity, be it business, be it any venture, be it a relationship, or any activity, if you have not been able to identify what the yield is in that particular activity or in that particular venture. So the yield is not just, yield is more like a financial term. In financial terminology, you'll be talking about yield as profit, as profit or as an end result of a financial investment. So I'm using that financial terminology called yield to really categorize and generalize the end product or the outcome of any activity. Because if it is profitable, if it is yielding you something, it then means that there is a positive outcome at the end of it. So I want you to pick the word yield and fit it into every activity you want to get yourself involved in and say, what is the yield in this particular business I'm going into? What is this particular work going to yield me? What is this particular relationship going to yield me? What is this particular activity going to yield me? It cuts across every sphere of life. It cuts across every atom of activity you get yourself involved in. Let me give you an example. Maybe you've been spending a lot of time on social media in the past or in 2019. And then at the end of the day, have you sat down to ask yourself, what has this yielded me as per the time I've spent on social media? What have I actually benefited from it? How has it made me a better person? What have I actually used it to my own advantage? How have I used it to my own advantage? That is the yield you get out of it. There are certain reasons people do certain things. The same social media you spend endless time on, doing useless things on, people spend less time on it, benefiting more from it because they use it to their own advantage. It yields them knowledge, it yields them money, it yields them positive relationship and network and connections. What is the yield in that thing? What about the friendships and the relationships you formed in the times past? What have they yielded you? So before you form any relationship in this year, look at that relationship and that friendship closely and decide and determine for yourself, what is the yield? To what end is this to me? If I get involved in this relationship, in this friendship, to what end is it to me? How is that going to make me a better person? How is that going to make my year a better year? The business you want to get involved in, have you sat down to punch your numbers and ask yourself, what is in this business for me? How am I going to approach it and increase the yield in that business? If you're going into a new business venture, have you sat down to ask yourself, why am I going into this new business venture? And what is it going to yield for me? How is it going to make my year better than it was last year? And in your existing business, how would you want to increase the yield on your existing business if you are running your own business? Then if you are working for someone, there is a yield in there for you. What's in there for you as per your work? How is this year going to yield you something better? Is it promotions that you're looking for? Then how can you achieve that? Is it pay rise you're looking for? How can you achieve that? Is it self-development you're looking for? How can you achieve that? Is it experience you want to achieve in that work? How can you achieve that? There has to be something in there for you for it to be worthwhile your time. Otherwise, you waste this year again, and then you look forward to another year, and another year comes and goes, and you're still at the same spot. So yield is one thing I need you to focus on this year. I want you to focus on things that produces a clearly defined yield at the end of it. It has to be clearly defined. There is no room for ambiguity when it comes to yield. You've got to clearly understand what you want out of that thing. You've got to clearly understand how you can measure that thing that is coming out of it to decide whether it is worth it for you or not. You see, one thing that yield does for you is that it keeps you motivated. It keeps your motivation alive. It keeps the fuel. It's like the fuel burning in you and cheering you on to whatever, because it is the end product you are looking at. It is what you really want to achieve. If you have a project that maybe somebody who's won a contract, you've worked out how much that contract is going to yield you. You've worked out how much profit, how much margin is in that contract for you. That is what you are looking forward to. And every program and every activity associated to that contract or that project is geared towards making that profit and that margin a reality. So if you want to make sure you achieve that yield that you have already foreseen, or that yield that you've already identified in that activity or in that business, then you've got to do something. There are two major ways, that you can make your yield worth it. First is for you to cut costs and cut wastes. If you want to increase your yield in anything you do, cut costs and cut wastes. Go to any business, any well-established business, and ask them the first thing to do to increase profit. It is to cut costs. So whatever it is that is costing you more than, you shouldn't have to pay more than what you have to pay for anything, if you've got to make it worth it, if you've got to increase your yield. Now, I'm expressing this in monetary terms, but even in social terms, if you want to cut costs and cut wastes, there are so many things that amount to wastes in your time and in your life. And it might be friends, it might be friends. Some friends around you are wastes. If you want to increase your productivity and your yield, you've got to cut some wastes off. Sometimes it could be too much of indulgence in televisions, social media, and things that do not yield you anything. Those are wastes. Cut them off. It may be that you spend too much time on socializing than you spend on self-development. Cut wastes. If you want to increase yield, cut costs and cut waste. If you are in business, find a cheaper and better way of running your business, because the more costs you cut, the more profits you gain. The more wastes you cut, the more yielding that activity becomes to you. Sorry, excuse me, I've just I've got a little bit of flu. I've got to, excuse me. So if you want to increase the yield in your activity, you've got to find a way of cutting costs and cutting wastes. And like I already said, what yield does for you, that increases your motivation and it keeps you focused on where you're headed. Now, the yield gives you a sense of self-worth, and it also gives you an idea of what an activity or a business is worth to you. If you want to know how much you are worth, look at what an activity is going to yield you. If somebody engages you in any work or in any contract or in any project, and you feel that the pay you are being offered, it's not worth it, that is what you are worth. That's your yield. You have already looked at it and you've said to yourself, I cannot spend this much time doing this much work and be earning this less. So if you have identified your yield for the year, it helps you maintain your sense of self-worth, and it gives you an idea of what that particular activity or that business is worth to you before you even get involved in it. If it is work, or if it's an employment opportunity, what you are being offered, it gives you an idea of how much time you are putting into that, and then is it commensurate to what you are getting out of it. You have to place that side by side each other, and then you decide whether that yield is worth it or not. So whatever you do this year, keep your eye on the yield, because the yield is your reward for all the stress, for all the inconvenience, and for all the effort you have put into that particular activity. If the yield is not worth it for you, do not be scared to walk away, because you alone knows what you are worth. Do not let anyone decide for you what you are worth. If you decide that you are worth this, then go for it. If it's not worth your time, walk away from it. Because at the end of the day, you set the pace, you set the tone, you set your own yield, you set your own margin. If you don't take control of these things, the yield, when the yield controls you and you do not control the yield, you are more likely to yield to anything, because that's the point. I mean, that's the fact. If you do not control the yield and the yield controls you, you are more likely going to yield to anything, because you then become desperate and you have no sense of self-worth. So the first thing you keep your eye on this year, the letter Y, is yield. Second thing you need to keep your eye on and keep focus on this year, the letter E in the word year, is efforts. Keep your eye on your efforts. Now, effort is the physical or the mental or psychological or the tangible and intangible strength or resources that you have poured into an activity or into a business or into a venture towards an achievement. You see, when we talk about efforts, we are talking about the catalysts to yield, the catalysts to output, the catalysts to outcome. The output or the outcome of any activity is a product of the amount of effort that has gone into that activity. So we've just talked about yield now, which is an outcome or which is an output or which is an end result. What acts as a catalyst to that end result or that outcome or that output is the effort. The amount of effort you put into an activity gives you an idea of what is going to come out at the end of it. Yeah. So if you, for example, if you kick a ball, the amount of effort you put into kicking a ball will determine to a very large extent how far that ball can travel. Or if you pick up a tennis racket and somebody throws a tennis at you, the amount of effort you put into hitting that ball determines how far that ball can go. In this instance, we're not talking about accuracy. We're not talking about precision. We're not talking about targets. We are talking about how far that thing can go. So, which is, you then determine whether you are looking for distance or you're looking for precision. So even where you want precision or where you want accuracy, it all boils down to how you design the efforts that you put into that particular activity. So it could be distance you're looking for. Maybe you want to go as far as possible in your academics this year, or there's a particular achievement that you want to get to in this year. That is accuracy, that is precision. Or you just want to get as far as you can in business and achieve as much as you can in business, and then that is all what determines how much effort you put into it. But your effort should be one thing you've got to watch this year, and how much effort you put into anything determines how far that thing can carry you. So your effort basically is an indication of how badly you want a thing. If you want it that badly, you will do whatever is legally possible to make it happen. Sometimes things elude us because we have not indicated as much desire, as much interest in achieving that thing. If you want it that badly, trust me, you will do everything within your power to make it happen. People who want to go into exams and they have set themselves goals that, look, in this exam, I want to, in this particular paper, my target is to make an A in this particular paper. What is it going to take me to do it? A lot of midnight candles. And if you want it that badly, while others are sleeping, you are awake burning those midnight candles. At the end of the day, the result of that exam will justify the effort that you've put in there. And to be honest with you, effort is the clear-cut difference between success and failure. People who have succeeded in things that they are doing, it's not because they have two heads. It is simply because they have put in more effort. into what they are doing than the other person has. You know, somebody, I think it was the owner of Microsoft. You know, during an interview, he was asked, "Why have you, succeeded where a lot of other people did not succeed? Why did you end up selling more computers than other computer providers and those other computer manufacturers?" And he said, the answer is simple, that he simply did more work. He knocked on more doors. He made more phone calls. He went out there and spoke to more people. And the more people he spoke to, the more people heard about Microsoft. The more doors he knocked on, the greater the chances of him making a sale. The more effort he put into selling his computer, the greater his chance of succeeding where others failed. It's simple. More efforts. If you lie down on your bed and keep waiting for miracles to happen, miracles do not happen in a vacuum. There are efforts that need to be put into whatever you are doing for that thing to succeed. The reason the other person is making more sales in business and they're excelling in business is because they have made more effort than you have. They've taken more risks. They've covered more grounds than you have covered. More people have got to hear about their products. He has asked for more referrals at the end of every sale process. You have a business and somebody patronizes your business and you allow that customer walk away without telling that customer to please give me a referral. Can you please refer me to somebody, a friend or a family member who will be interested in my product or in my service? You have a product and you have not spoken to as many people as possible about it. How do you expect them to hear about what your services are and what you're doing and what you're selling? So the difference between successful people and people who have not succeeded simply is in the amount of effort that they have put in. Amazon did not arrive where he is today by just sitting down in his garage where it started and then waiting for people to just come and ask who is here and who is Amazon. Because he went out there and spoke to as many people as possible. Even before people could invest in Amazon and become investors. Even before people could actually see what he was trying to do or what he was trying to achieve. He walked the streets. He put in the grafts. So people talk a lot about working hard and working smart. Listen, the two of them are very core ingredients of successful people. You've got to work hard and you've got to work smart. You don't have to do one and leave the other. If you choose to work smart and not work hard, smart alone cannot do it. The effort is the work hard part of it. Talk about footballers. Successful footballers you see on the screens of television. If they tell you how much effort they put into training every single day, consistently, to get to where they are, you will not believe it. But you see the glossy part of their lives, but you do not see the grafts. And that's one deceptive thing about effort. You know, a lot of people don't see the effort, they just see the glossy parts of the end result of effort, and they have no idea how much effort you put in there. So, however high and lofty your dreams and your goals and your objectives and your aspirations are in this year, if you do not put in the effort, none of them will come to fruition. Trust me. So the effort is very important in achieving whatever you have set out to achieve. And efforts are always, they usually produce commensurate yields, commensurate outputs. Your output usually more than usually always produce, they are always a result of how much effort you have put in. So if you put in big efforts, expect big results. If you put in small efforts, expect small results. It's as simple as that. There is no substitute for effort. You either put it in or forget about it. And do you know one thing about efforts as well is that they are usually infectious. Is either you're infected by somebody's efforts or somebody is infected by your efforts. I know how many people who have approached me to say, I've been inspired by your early morning run and your early morning routine, and it has inspired my fitness program as well. And I've started running, I've started exercising, I've started doing fitness and all that. This is something I'm doing on my own, and all I do is that I share it on my social media pages. But I had no idea that there were people who are being inspired by that effort that I put in every morning, early in the morning, as early as, say, 6:30 in the morning. I'm already out there doing my early morning jogging. It's for my own benefit. I wasn't doing it to inspire anybody. I was just doing it because I felt good doing it. I feel it adds value to what I'm doing. After my early morning exercise, I feel energized. I come to work, I feel stronger. I feel I'm getting somewhere. It gives me that early morning energy I need to put into my work and my business every day. But hey, because I was sharing it just to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And people got inspired by that, and they said, hey, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And it inspired a lot of people to start running and to get out of bed and do things early in the morning. And that is what effort is like. People will watch you and they will see the effort you are putting in. So it is either somebody's efforts is affecting you positively, or your effort is influencing somebody else positively. Either way, it's a positive way of infecting and affecting other people's lives. So I would rather somebody gets infected by my efforts, which are relentless, and I do not mind also being infected by somebody's positive efforts, because I learn from people every day. I have online mentors that I look forward to their posts on Instagram every day, because what their posts do is that it inspires me, and I see the amount of effort they put in, and I talk to myself and I say, hey, Ikena, you're lazing around. This guy is already up 4:30 a.m. in the morning and he's already doing stuff in the gym. And it's inspired me every day. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm out of bed and I'm reading. I'm preparing myself mentally and psychologically for the day. I'm feeding my mind positively with positive contents to get me ready for the day, 5 a.m. And once it's 6:30 or 6:15 in the morning, I'm already out on my early morning jog to feel I fed my mind. I now want to feed, my body with the fitness that it requires. And then your day already opens up to you, because it's a great day already. From that moment on, it sets the tone for your day. So the number 3 thing I need you to focus on this year, remember we are using the word year as an acronym to identify the 4 things we have to focus on this year. We have talked about Y, which is yield. We've talked about E, which is effort. And then A is attitude. Attitude. Now your attitude represents your approach to things or events based on your mindset. Attitude and mindset are interlinked. The way you approach things, the way you react to things, the way you handle things are all dependent on your mindset about that particular thing. Now, attitudes are the very center of our everyday lives, and they clearly determine how things work out for us, or how things will work out for us. I've talked a lot about attitude. If you go to episode 3, if you go to my Facebook page and look at the previous episodes of this particular series of Modesty's Monday Motivation, I think it was episode 3 that I talked about 7 attitudes to success. You can go and listen to that episode again and watch that video again, and it gives you there I have elaborated the 7 attitudes to success, where I cover things like your attitude to work, your attitude to relationship, your attitude to money, your attitude to, various things. I mentioned 7 things there, that your attitude towards those things goes a long way to pointing out how far and how successful you can be. So one thing you've got to pay attention to as well this year is your attitude. Once your attitude is right, then it's easier for you to put in the effort. And then the chance of success is greater with the right attitude. Now, if you look at how I've linked attitudes to mindsets, if you have a positive mindset about anything, your attitude towards that thing will ooze positivity. If you have a negative mindset about anything, your attitude towards that thing will ooze negativity. For example, in your business, if you feel that things are not going right, and if you feel that there is no other way you can make it right, and there is no other solution to it, you've zeroed your mind on the fact that this is not going right, there is no other way of making it right, and there is no other way of seeking help. Trust me, you will struggle to put in any amount of effort to rescue that business, because your attitude and your mindset to it has already concluded that that is the only way. The only way to do it is to walk out of it. It's good to decide when to walk out of a situation where there appears to be no solution. But I just want you to get the underlying message in this. It's about your mindset. Because the mind has already closed on that particular opportunity, and there is no way that opportunity is ever going to be open. If somebody is offering you an employment opportunity, and right deep down inside you, you feel that that opportunity is not for you, or you cannot do this, or this is beyond you, or this is, you don't see yourself fitting into that role, trust me, you will struggle to get out of bed to even attend an interview for that job. If your mindset and your attitude is such that you feel you are not good enough for something, you will struggle to get the motivation to either justify how good you are or how excellent you can potentially be in that particular role. You have to picture these things first of all. You have to accept them in your mind, within your minds. Your mindset has to be right towards it before you even begin to put in the effort. So your attitude has a lot of role to play in terms of how much effort you put into something. If you want to go for it, your attitude will be right first of all, and then you say, hey, I think I can grab this opportunity and I can run with it, and then let me go for it. In this new year, people are going to present to you many new opportunities. Those new opportunities could be jobs, they could be businesses, they could be collaborations, they could be cooperations, they could be relationships, they could be, projects, they could be studies, academics, anything that comes across as new, which you are expected to take advantage of. The first thing that you've got to be careful is how you receive that opportunity. How you receive it and how you view it and how you picture yourself in it is what is going to set the tone and how much effort you're going to put into making that thing happen. If you never believed in that opportunity in the first place, if you never saw yourself excelling in that opportunity, there is no way you put in enough effort to make it happen. That is your attitude towards it. Some people will go to work in this new year with 2019 attitude, and they will be expecting 2020 to produce something new. No, it doesn't work like that. If you do not change the attitude and introduce into yourself and into your life an attitude that will take you beyond where you found yourself last year, you will remain in the same spot and you will not move an inch. If your attitude doesn't change to the point where you feel uncomfortable being stagnant, if you feel you have not moved far enough from where you are, and your attitude is such that you feel very comfortable being stagnant, you will remain stagnant because that is your comfort zone. But if you have an attitude that pushes you out of the comfort zone and say, I'm going to push out, I'm going to go for it this year, and then you want to take more risks, that is where your mindset begins to play a very vital role in your dream of advancement. Otherwise, it remains a dream. Surrounding yourself with people of particular mindsets means that your attitude will be the same as those set of people. There are people who are not interested in moving forward. They are interested in staying where they are, and they are interested in keeping you where they are because they are scared of letting you go and watching you advance and watching you go beyond. Those kind of people, when you share new opportunities and new ideas with them, they will first of all talk it down. They will talk you down, they will talk it down, they will talk you out of it, and they will make sure you never ever rise up to pursue it. But if you want to make up your mind that you've got to develop the right attitude, you've got to get rid of people who are not interested in moving forward and start associating with people who are higher than you. And also look for people who are lower than you and look for people who are the same level with you. These three categories of people are very important for you. The ones who are higher than you are the ones you're looking up to. And you want to follow them and get to where they are, and they'll push you on. The people who are at your level are people who you can share ideas with. You are sharing that idea with them, not really to remain at the same level, but for them to know that you have a dream and aspiration of rising above that level, because you need those set of people because they're rising at the same level with you. And when you share ideas with them, you don't feel intimidated. You get their opinions, but you set your eyes on people who are higher and above you, because that's where you are aspiring to be. And then people who are below you are people who you will inspire with the things that you have achieved and the steps you have moved forward. And you drag them along and you pull them along. You are nobody until you are somebody to someone. Someone needs to look at you and say, hey, I'm inspired by you. So it's not just, okay, looking above, look at your level and look a step below. It helps you because when you bring somebody up a higher level, it motivates you, it gives you inspiration, it makes you feel, yeah, I'm doing something good and I'm doing something right. And that inspires you to even help more people. And then the higher you go, the more you pull more people up alongside you. Whoever is interested in pulling you down, let go and let the person just go down alone. You don't have to go down with them. Now, the fourth thing and the final thing I need you to focus on this year, the letter R in the word year, is your reason. Your reason. Basically, this is your why. Every single thing you are going to pursue this year, there has to be a reason for that. And that reason has to be at the center of everything you do. Each time you get involved in anything, ask yourself, why am I doing this? If you pick a book to read this year, ask yourself, why am I reading this book? If you're going to work anytime this year, ask yourself, why am I going to work? Where you are working, ask yourself, why am I working here? Why have you chosen to work with that company or with that person? If you are running your own business and you come to work and you come to your business every day, ask yourself, why am I doing this? If you have no reason for doing what you're doing, you are wasting a whole lot of time. 12 months is a whole lot of time to waste doing something for nothing. So if you want to make the most of these 12 months, set a reason. The reason doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be long. It can be one single reason. It could simply be, you know what, I want to bring my mom out of the village and bring her to the city. So I want to work so hard that I'll have enough space to get my mom out of the village, bring her to the city and keep her here. Whatever it will take me to do that, I'm going to do that. That could be your only reason. Or you could just look at your wife and say, oh, she's working so hard and so tirelessly. How I wish I could do something that could reduce the amount of time and stress. Everything I'm going to do is going to be focused on getting my wife out of this stressful work that she finds herself, and she looks unhappy in it. I want to make her happy. That could be your single reason. So every single thing you're doing and everything you aspire to do could be centered around that reason. You see, after the holiday, when we came back from Nigeria this year, my wife entered, my daughter entered the house. You know, when we came back, I just opened the house, she entered the house, and she was like, Daddy, everywhere looks so small. I just laughed. I said, my dear, welcome back to England. Because we went to Nigeria, and there was so much space. The rooms are so spacious, the lounges are so spacious, the compound is so spacious, there's so much space, there's abundance of space. They played and ran around the whole compound until they got tired. They couldn't imagine that this amount of space existed anywhere in this world. So she was already spoiled for space in Nigeria. And then we came back, she walked into the house, and she said, Daddy, everywhere looks so small. I said, yes, we are back to the small space here you are used to, you know. So, and you know, it kept me thinking, and it's kept me thinking since then. And I said, my daughter said everywhere looked so small. What if I use that as a reason to, you know, increase my efforts to get more space for my daughter and my children, and give them more space to, you know, play around and do what they want to do. And as far as I'm concerned, it's given me a reason to do something this year to create more space for my children, because everywhere looks so small, apparently. So I've gone back to Nigeria. I've come with that inspiration that my daughter needs more space. And so in this year, I'm going to give myself a reason to work, to say, I want to give her more space. I've got another reason to do something, you know, that I've never done before this year. You know, my going to Nigeria and coming back has given me a lot of inspiration. What it's done is, you know, where I spent some time in Lagos was in this, you know, luxury apartment, which my very good friend helped me to secure, and you know, all thanks to him, he gave me a taste of luxury while I was in Nigeria. And we spent time in this luxury apartment, and there, you know, in Nigeria there used to be power outages every now and then. But trust me, in this particular apartment, not 1 second did we lose power supply. The air condition was on 24/7 if we wanted it. In fact, we had to turn the air condition off sometimes because we were getting too cold. We had to regulate the air condition sometimes, just, you know, to get a little bit warm. And when we step out of that apartment, it just appears like we're stepping into a whole different world. All of a sudden, we feel these heats all over us again, and then we quickly do what we want to do, so because we want to run back into that luxury apartment and cool again. And once you step in there, it looks like you're stepping into a different world altogether, you know. And I said to myself, you know, luxury is good, you know, and I have given myself a reason to say, I want this to become a lifestyle. I don't want it to be a once in a while situation. I want it to be a lifestyle. And there are people who live this as a lifestyle every single day of their lives because they've worked for it. So I have a reason. I want to live a life of luxury as a lifestyle every single day because I've tasted it and I don't want to let go of it. Your reason doesn't have to be complicated. Something could trigger that reason. Maybe somebody said something to you that was really annoying, that provoked this kind of anger in you. Maybe you've been exposed to a situation where you found it humiliating to go begging somebody for something or to go asking somebody for something. That could be a reason. You could just say to yourself, I will never have to beg anybody for this thing again. I will make sure I have it on my own and for myself. And then from that moment on, it triggers that anger, it provokes that thing inside you, it becomes your reason. So every time you do anything you do, you refer back to that and say, this is why I am doing what I am doing. Never again will I tolerate this, ever. So I need you to focus on a reason. It could be just one thing. My daughter is going to turn 10 this year. I have a reason. I have a strong reason to make the most of this year. Because when they turn 10, it's a whole different story altogether. And trust me, when girls turn 10, you've got to buckle up and you've got to buckle your belt, because you're beginning to deal with a semi-adult, right? So I know I'm going to be dealing with a semi-adult by the by September this year. So I have a very strong reason to buckle up, sit up, and do what I need to do. And I'm determined to create more space for her, because when she turns 10, trust me, she will definitely need more space, and she will let you know that she needs more space. So dear friends and folks, that's what I want you to focus on. These 4 things, I'm going to recap them. Y is for yield. E is for effort. A is for attitude. And your R is for reason. Focus on your yield, focus on your effort, focus on your attitude, and focus on your reason. That is the acronym for the word year. So in this year, focus on these 4 things, and trust me, you'll not get many things wrong. And I promised you that at the end of this session, I'm going to tell you in what order I think these things should appear. Yeah, I have used the word year as an acronym, but if you ask me in what order or in what order they should appear in terms of attention, I'm going to approach it this way. The first thing you have to establish is the reason for doing what you want to do. Have a reason for everything you want to do, and focus on that reason and keep that reason. In fact, you can write it down. Write your reason down. When you write it down, it becomes some kind of agreement or contract between yourself and yourself. The second thing in that order is attitude. If you have a reason to do something, your attitude keys into that reason. All of a sudden, you develop the attitude of never say never. You develop an attitude that will make sure that that reason becomes a fruition. And that reason comes to a fruition. Number 3 in that order is effort. If you develop the right attitude, it triggers the right effort. Because that right mindset, which brings up the attitude that is required to make that thing happen, means that you now need the requisite effort to push that agenda forward, right? And after efforts, the last thing in that order is the yield, because it is the effort that produces the yield. The yield is a product of the effort you've put in. The yield is a product of the commensurate effort you've put in. The effort has to be commensurate to the yield. The yield has to be commensurate to the effort. But do not get it wrong. Sometimes you put in a lot of effort, and it appears like the yield is not commensurate to the effort. It appears that what you are getting out of that effort does not amount to the amount of effort you've put into it. Trust me, do not drop your effort levels. Keep it at the level or even increase it. Because those efforts you're putting in, that it looks like the yield is not justifying them at this moment in time, they are investments you're making for future successes. And when those successes start appearing, you will look back at those efforts and you will see that none of those efforts were a waste. Keep doing it. Keep doing what you're doing as long as you're on the right track. If it doesn't yield you anything now, it will yield you something tomorrow. And may God bless you, bless your efforts, and please make sure you focus on these 4 things in this year. And I wish you every success you wish yourself in this year. And together, let's embark on this journey and let's count our blessings together at the end of the year. Have a lovely day, have a fabulous week, and have a wonderful new year. Thank you, and God bless.